Well, folks, winter is upon us. Ice chunks cling to our boot heels, and winds cut through the bone. But rest easy, travelers, for there is music in the air, along with the lingering aroma of freshly ground coffee beans and freshly baked bread. Of course, I speak of Legends and Lattes, a warm and welcome tavern to all, and the beating heart of the city of Thune. Stow your wand and sheath your sword, for you are among friends. What flames could not consume shall never be extinguished.
What's going on, everybody? This is Merlin's Vault with an extra sultry video today.
Ooh.
I'm Clay.
I'm Victoria, and we're on a date.
Yeah, talking about a extra cozy, snuggly book.
Yes.
Called
Legends and Lattes,
which is a super awesome book that makes me feel a certain way. I have an attitude around this time of year that's extra sweet. And it looks like we're joined by a couple of cinnamon rolls.
Courtesy of Cinnaholic. They are a franchise that is completely vegan.
Yes.
So I can eat it.
And they also important, right on theme, because there are cinnamon rolls somewhere in this book.
Yes, there are.
Oh yeah. And you have your coffee or latte prepared.
I do.
Is it a latte or is it some tea?
It's a latte.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
With non-dairy milk.
Nice. Okay. So, Legends and Lattes, how would you describe this book in like a couple of sentences?
The coziest, warmest, all the feels. It makes you feel so good reading it. It is about an ex-adventurer who has decided to take on a new venture in life. Completely different for herself, fresh place, all fresh ideas, and meeting all sorts of new interesting characters that are bringing something unique to her new business.
Yeah. Doesn't like being a mercenary. Not really.
No.
It's not a passion. She's good at it.
She's very good at it.
But she's dropping everything to pursue one of her biggest passions in life. And she meets a collection of friends along the way that helps her see her dream come true, which is all the more sweet. I think this book, from reading some fan comments and readers of the book, said it really helped them get through. It really helped them get through the pandemic. So it came out, I believe, in 2020.
Oh, okay. I did not realize that. We were a little late to the game on this one.
Yeah, and so in that time, they were the writer Travis Baldry has also written Bookstores and Bone Dust, which
Correct.
is a prequel to the story.
Correct. So
Okay.
this is the first book that he has ever written. He is actually a voice actor and got into writing now, and clearly it has done very well. This is a bestseller, and his new book is also a bestseller, so we do hope to see more from him and the world that he has created. There is D&D aspects to this story, but it is not your typical D&D venturing type of story. And if you are not someone who is even that knowledgeable on D&D, it doesn't matter. This is a different world and definitely a different feel to it.
Yes, so definitely check this out for Valentine's Day. It's a great story. It's got love in the air. Not so much just like person in love with another person, but the love of things, like ordinary things.
Yes.
And love for the smaller things.
The appreciation of them, the appreciation of your friends, and the different skill sets that individuals can have, and realizing that, oh, you're very good at this, well, that can be cool, like let's integrate that into this, and we can make something wonderful together. And that is just beautiful, because we all bring something different to the table, but different is wonderful.
And love for your friend, because no matter your baggage, your friends are there to pick you up and help you get those things done in life. We describe this book as being in the genre of cozy fantasy, and it's been surging in popularity due to Cursed Cocktails, books like that, and then also movies like Studio Ghibli, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro, and my question to you is, how would you describe cozy fantasy? Is it a certain feeling? Is it things that you see on screen or read in the pages, way it makes you feel? What?
I think there's definitely a feeling to it. I think it's kind of difficult. There can definitely be some high stakes to it, but yet how those high stakes are addressed aren't necessarily high stakes, if that makes any sense. So you might have this really big issue that could come to fruition that is going to be world shattering, but yet the way we handle it is we're not going to have the battle at Helm's Deep. Instead, we're going to bake cinnamon rolls and give them to the person weekly.
Right.
That might be the way of handling that situation. So there's and it has that feel good to it, so yet there is that conflict, drama, but it does end up having a happy ending.
Right. Like some of the Studio Ghibli movies have that theme of either growing up, facing real world consequences, growing up after migrating after World War II, and My Neighbor Totoro. And with this book, there is battle, there is mercenary work and war, and it is a brutal world out there. But in Thune, you can collect yourselves and meet new friends in a really cozy atmosphere. And there's a reason why so many D&D stories have so many taverns and so many inns and places to just meet other people, because a lot of the backdrop maybe serve as like metaphors for what's happening in the tavern. So you might get some of that in Legends and Lattes as well.
Oh, I think you definitely will.
So you were talking about conflicts earlier and how cozy fantasy and this genre specifically handles conflict different than other books.
Yes.
What conflicts in this book stick out to you?
The biggest one being I guess this is a spoiler alert if you have not read this. Go read this, pause, and then come back.
Yeah.
So the biggest one being I don't know if you want to call them like the thugs, the magicals, goons that keep coming in and are saying by the end of this week you're going to have to start paying your dues to there. So they run the place like the mob would.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an issue because Viv is not down to be paying money out to them, and she's a new business starting up with a product that nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
So she's not real keen to be handing out money to everybody.
Right.
And she typically would just pick up her sword and solve the issue that way.
Yes.
But is like, that's not going to work. So we're going to need to pivot and figure out another solution. But I kept thinking that violence was going to happen.
Oh yeah. And I think that in the book, Viv looks at her sword and even thinks to herself, this is just a matter of time. It's destiny before I have to pick up the sword again.
Yes.
And some of her friends, specifically Tandri, which is this really nice, calculative, and creative succubus that works in the Legend of Lattes with her, who she kind of treats as a co-owner, tells her, no, these things can resolve naturally. And we just have to figure out what people want. And what she wants is hilarious.
It is.
So would you say that there's like a certain level of diplomacy that gets solved in cozy fantasy stories?
I think so. And I do not want to say that going to battle, because I made the reference to like Lord of the Rings. That was not going to be solved without going to battle. That was not a lack of diplomacy on anyone's part. Sometimes you do have to pick up a sword, and that is the only way to handle the situation. But I think this is showing a different side, that in some cases there could be a different option.
Yeah.
And that's what cozy fantasy is. And in this case, there is a different option, and it does work. But it could have very easily not have worked.
Yeah, it's kind of reflective where D&D is actually heading today, because a lot of conflicts back in the 80s were resolved specifically through violence. And nowadays, especially younger D&D players, like kids, want to know more about the monster, want to befriend the monster. Does the displacer cat have kittens? Does the gelatinous cube just want to hug
Yes, and in this case, he does. And he has the best voice, and I do want to hug him, but I'm like, you will kill me if you hug me, so I cannot let you hug me. I am so sorry.
But we can find something mutual for that gelatinous cube, that creation of science and wizardry. So I think that's very cozy fantasy related. Mm-hmm. And that I think D&D players have that sense in them when they play sometimes. Like, oh, I have that option? That's amazing. Yes. All right, so we've been mentioning the tavern, Legends and Lattes. So it's seen many improvements over the course of the book. It's like its own character.
Yes.
What major changes stick out for you in the book, and are those reflective of the characters and how they change and adapt over time?
Mm-hmm. So every time you add a new character into Vid's life that becomes part of, I would say, like her friend group, it ends up changing the tavern, physically speaking. So the first one is Cal, and he comes in, she hires him to do the work, the actual physical labor of changing this livery into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work, and it has been just left to shit. And he's like, okay, well, like, you're just sleeping on this loft on a bedroll? Like, let's actually make you a bedroom.
Yeah.
So he does that, and he says, you know, you really should put a stove in here. And she's like, well, why would I need a stove? Well, you might want to actually make food sometime. He's right, she does. And then Tangerine comes in, and she starts, okay, well, you need to actually start marketing. So let's have a big board up in the back that actually lists what everything is and the money of things. And it's like, oh yeah, I have to charge people for stuff. That's how you make money. And it slowly gets a little cozier in there once Tangerine's there. You get Thimble, who is baking everything, and they actually have to expand the kitchen and double it in size just because of him.
Yeah.
Because of how much he's making. And
for as small as he is, he's capable of so much and needing so much space. Which I think is really cool.
And I loved that. And even Amity, the cat, the dire cat, comes in, and she comes and goes as she pleases, but they give her her own space. So it just ends up being like, well, this is like the mascot to the tavern, so we just kind of give her this space. And then Pendry comes in, and all right, well, now we got this bard that's going to be performing. And
well, the dire cat too, that cat has a certain job, and it's security. It is security. You give me so much room and let me be myself, my own creative space. I'm gonna do what I know how to do, is hunt. And I'm gonna hunt bad guys for you.
Yes. And then Pendry, as their bard, they're end up, okay, well, let's put in a stage, a proper stage, so you can have that. So I love how it builds with them and grows, and I think businesses should look to do that as things change. And it's like, okay, well, the demand has changed. People are needing this. They figure out, oh, well, it's kind of tough for everybody to come in and finish their cup of coffee in the shop every morning. It would be really great if they could take their coffee on the go with them. Oh, that's a game changer when they figure out how to do that. So little things like that is just, it's fun to see that grow, and also how they address it in this fantasy setting. Because clearly we have to-go cups now, but they don't have that in the setting.
So if you found yourself in possession of a Scalbard stone, which is a stone that brings good fortune to its owner, what kind of business could you see for yourself opening up in Thune, in the city of Thune?
Oh goodness. Okay, well, I feel like we don't know a ton about Thune in and of itself.
What's a store that would make you feel good about running, though? If you were to...
It would probably be like a dance studio, honestly.
A dance studio?
Yeah,
nice.
It probably would be. And I know there's adventures out there, but what I would more cater to is not necessarily, but kind of like the softer side of things, but okay, well, with dance, you are learning your balance and you are learning your technique and all of these things that will help you just in general. Like when they say like football players do go and take ballet, there's a reason for that.
Okay.
So that would be the type of thing that I would probably do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what would you do?
I would, that's a good question. I think I would have, I have no clue.
Because you prepped these questions, I did not know these beforehand.
Yeah, so I got it. I would open up an amateur wrestling ring tavern.
I like it.
So people can be entertained and drink, and also have a few rooms to stay in. But it would just basically be like a whole gym where people can wrestle, but without any weapons. So you can't exactly bludgeon each other to pieces, but you can bludgeon each other in the ring and for coin.
Okay.
I think that would be fun.
Okay, and so when they get hurt, you can send them over to me, and then I will work on the recovery with them.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. I like this.
We do have a giveaway for this video. We'll be giving away 1 copy of Bookshops and Bone Dust. All you gotta do is like the video, be subscribed, and let us know what kind of shop that you would open in the cozy fantasy genre in a medieval D&D inspired town. Okay?
And we'll announce the winner at the end of the month, which was actually a leap day this year.
When Viv tries one of her lattes, she has her new latte machine. She tries it for the first time. She describes the feeling to herself as being peaceful, and when she drinks it, being peaceful in her mind. When's the last time you had a food or a drink that made you feel completely at peace? Do you remember what it was? It's a good question, but it makes you think.
It is, but also food, and I have a strange relationship with food. Food typically does not. Oh, that place that we went to after we went to Lexington Comic-Con last year, and it was on our way out of town, and we stopped there, and it was like the wizard themed coffee shop.
Oh yeah.
And it was like a honey and lavender vegan latte.
Yep.
That was quite delightful.
Yeah, it had like the velvety chairs and like the really good smelling oak like tables and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and it had that whole ambiance in there.
Yes.
That was nice.
That was nice.
Yeah. Total peace.
Yeah, it was just, and it was quiet in there too, and it was just nice being with you, and it was, you know, a bit of a, not that it was necessarily chaotic, but it was loud all weekend, you know, with the con, and it was our last little moment before we were gonna come back home and get to see Merlin, and yeah, it was just, it was like, oh, this is nice to just drink this, and I love lavender drinks.
Nice.
Drinks. I don't know,
Drinks.
this is drinks now for me, I don't know.
Beyond being this stalwart, battle-ready mercenary like Viv, and having a very tough exterior and thick skin, deep down, all she wants to do is open up this shop, sell rare gnomish drink among patrons,
Yes.
and be amongst her friends. And I think it's indicative of what people genuinely want to do in their lives and what they long for. What do you think people genuinely long for? What do you think makes people happy beyond what people initially think?
I think it's actual acceptance. So in the case of Viv, like she has people that she knows and that she loosely calls friends, but I don't think she actually knows if they are, and that was her adventuring group.
Yes.
And it was more like, okay, well, you know, you're the brawn of the group, you're the pickpocketer, you're the brains. They each had their very distinct roles, like you would in a D&D group, and so she, to me at least from what I read, and personally, I would wonder, are these people actually with me because they like me, or is it because of what I'm very good at doing and now they know me enough and they know how to work with me? And you do start to question that. It's like the same with your work relationships. You are forced into these relationships with people. Do you actually like them? Or are you just like, oh, I am finding things that I like about you because I'm forced into this relationship with you to work with you.
Right.
And I think that can be the same thing even with families. So we, as people, need other people. That's just, it's how we are made. Humans need other humans to be happy, to survive.
Right.
And I think we all want to feel like we have a group that we actually fit into and that we know where we truly belong.
Right.
And it's not a group that was forced on us like your family, where it's like, okay, well, I got lucky and my parents, you know, they love me.
Yeah.
But sometimes I question, do they really love me? Or is it just because they think they're supposed to love me? Those thoughts go through your head because you're like, I don't know. They didn't choose me. They just had me. So I don't know. But in the case of like you and me, you chose to be with me. And so I feel a different type of appreciation of that because you actually made that choice to put up with my ass.
And I think another strong element to this story is finding elements in everyday things that genuinely make you happy. Finding the magic, because magic is real. You find it in a lot of little things throughout your day, then you might not even know it. Of how stressful everything becomes, how overwhelming your life becomes. There is magic to be found, hiding in the crevices of your everyday life, such as Viv taking that first sip of a latte, smelling those ground coffee beans in the air, hearing music over the tunes of your favorite singer on your way to work, listening to your favorite podcast. What do you find magic? Where do you find daily magic in your life?
Merlin.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason where his name came from. He is magical. He really is. Just all of his little isms, they're hard to explain, but he has certain looks and certain things that he does that I just think are magical. Like when he goes to do his little, I call it his Ewok hug, and he goes on his back legs and he puts his little front paws around and he gives you a little hug on your leg. And like that to me is magical. Like the connection that I have with him. There's sometimes just like I've been having health issues and having a good day. That in and of itself is magical, just to have like, okay, a moment where there's not a problem. That is magical.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the winter, the cold and that sun coming out and just the way that it hits coming through the window and shining down, that is gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And then just the light streaming in, like that's magic. Or walk outside with Merlin and you hear the birds, tweeting, chirping, thank you, all their little sounds. That's beautiful. This morning I came down and there were 2 doves that were sitting on our balcony, and they were just looking at each other, and they looked like they were just talking away to each other, and I was just like, okay,
I saw the same thing with the squirrels playing with each other, and I just watched them for like 30 minutes. They did.
He just stood in our kitchen and watched them out the back, just
with my
squirrels
coffee.
playing.
Yeah, it was just nice. It was just like, it's so simple.
I think there is and I get why everyone writes about it. There is truly magic in nature.
Yeah.
There is those just simple things, and animals just doing the simple things that they do is just, it's beautiful. And I think we all get caught up in all the shit and crap that we do and all of that, but those little moments are just perfect.
Well, just like in movies like Spirited Away, where the main character of that movie sees a lot of other people doing their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the spirits and different creatures that she comes across all may look kind of scary at first until you see how good they are at their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And helping them like in the mines, like when they're doing like the bath, with the coins and stuff. I think that's also kind of appreciative of, just seeing people do a great job. And also that overwhelming feeling of doing a good job yourself.
Yes.
She really wants to prove herself that she can eventually grow up and take care of herself without her parents.
Mm-hmm.
And not just leaning on her parents the entire time.
Yes. She gets a lot less whiny, which I greatly appreciate.
A job well done is so nice, and to feel like appreciated a little bit.
Yes.
For your efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So when they build that big menu, and by the end you realize how far you've come with Legends of Lattes, and how many items that they've done and brainstormed and rewritten,
Mm-hmm.
and came up with all these great ideas, like even including iced coffee and that quote of like, something may have happened to Legend of Lattes, but the idea burns eternal.
Yes.
And that passion will always burn eternal, no matter how bad things get. Your likes and loves will always live on. So we've got to talk about the blooming romance in the book between Viv and Tandri.
Mm-hmm.
When do you start looking at someone beyond just being a friend? Being like with friends being a strong foundation, do you think what their love is really natural and realistic to you?
Yes.
Or is it just played more for the fantasy of everything?
No, I think they do have... Okay, so actually, I don't typically like romance things. I typically get throw up when it comes to the mushy-gushy stuff. That's one of the reasons why I love Lord of the Rings. There's not a lot of that. And I could skip through all the stuff with Aragorn and Arwen.
Or typical fantasy, like romance novels.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
Tusk love.
No. But there are a few things that I do like. One being Jane Austen. And the reason why I like Jane Austen's, typically her main characters, who are the love story ones, there is a slow build to those relationships. And that's what I saw here. The most that you're going to get out of them is kissing. That's it. And it happens at the very end of the book. And there's not a lot of back and forth. There's not this drama that's going on with it. It's just our relationship is building. We are working well together. And it just blossoms. And it feels very natural to me. It felt earned. Never once was it rushed. It wasn't pushing anything. It just felt right. And that's what I loved. They
really grew to learn things about each other and appreciate each other.
Yes, and they pushed each other in good, healthy ways. And they would kind of do that thing that people do where you kind of drop that hint where it's like yeah, I kind of like you. And it's like, I'm just going to throw a little bit out there to see if you'll kind of take that bait. Like, do you kind of feel the same way about me?
Yeah.
And Viv did that a little bit, and Tandri went back forth, and so both of them did it, and it was really sweet. I loved it. I loved it a lot.
So when do you think they start seeing each other as like a romantic prospect?
And that's what I wondered. I'm not sure with Tandri because we don't really see in her mind. We do see in Viv's. Tandri, I don't know. I really don't know exactly with her. I know there was a definite point because she's the one who initiates the kiss. But with Viv, I think it happened before she even realized. And I think it was before she even had Tandri sleep over at her place when they were under a security threat. And she did that whole I'm gonna look away while you change into your night clothes type of thing. Like, I'm gonna awkwardly look away, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's, which, you know, it could be she's just being nice, but I was like, nah, she's got feelings for her right there. You wouldn't be that awkward about it if you didn't like her.
Yeah. And if something happened to us in the Lattes, Viv admits in almost like a fiery barbarian rage, like, at least I would still have you. And she felt it. So I think it all kind of, you know, came together right there.
Yes. And I don't know if something would have happened as soon as it had if the burning down didn't happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that kind of ignited both of their feelings to come out faster,
Right.
and then to actually express it.
Yeah.
So I think they're more timid when it comes to those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But neither one of them ever spoke about relationships, who they, you know, been with. They never talked about those things. They never did the, you know, like, hey, what are you into? You know, they never did that.
Right.
So I'm not really sure exactly when their feelings came about.
Yeah, they let those feelings come out way more naturally than a lot of other stories I've learned about.
Yes, unlike me, where you have to explicitly tell me.
Yeah, because otherwise I'll have no idea.
Which is so bad, because
Yeah.
the books I read, they don't explicitly ever tell each other that they do typically.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm gonna need you to spell that out for me.
It's like
Probably a
soap
few
operas where
times.
they're just blatantly telling you.
And then I'm still like, you're talking to me?
Yeah. I would wrap this up with one more question, and this is relating to a theme that I think even surpasses the romantic relationship that Tangerine and Viv share, and it's the element of found family. And that's the piece of it that I like so much about stories like this. And when I told you that I watch Guardians of the Galaxy like every Christmas is about family, and then Guardians of the Galaxy is like found family. So it kind of gives me that same sense that I have around Christmas time. How important is the element of found family to you, and how much baggage is too much baggage for your friends to endure? Like, do you enroll everything on top of them, or do you let them sift through it? Because Viv carries a lot where she thinks that maybe they're just strictly business relationships. And then once the issues get ironed out, she lets the relationships form more naturally.
So two-parter question. So the first part of that, initially when I was younger, I didn't understand the importance or really why it would matter to have found family. I was lucky enough to have a very tight-knit family, but as I've gotten older, I've seen where I have very much wanted to have found family and rely heavily on that. Two, when it comes to friends on that, I think it just depends on the friend. I've got some friends, not that I'm ranking them, but you could. But you can't. You know, you've got your friends who are more like surface level stuff, where, yeah, I can hang out with you, we can do stuff, but I'm not going to give you my deep shit, nor are you going to do that for me.
Right.
And we know that we're probably not going, you know, we're not going to be in each other's weddings, we're not going to be there, you know, I'm not going to be, if you do the godparents for children, like, we're not doing that thing, you know, they're just more surface level, and that's perfectly fine. You should have friends like that as well too. But then I do have other friends that, yes, I can more rely on with my baggage and my crap, and I expect them to give me that as well too.
Yeah.
It is a lot, and I think actually I have made friends by sharing some of my baggage and then being like, wait, you went through that too? Oh my gosh. And then we became pretty close after that. So everybody's got baggage, and I think Viv starts to realize that yeah, honey, you're not the only one who has shit from your past. it's all different. No baggage is the same.
Right.
But other people have other things, so you have to give them the chance to at least try to understand you before just writing them off. And I think initially she just kind of writes people off as not actually wanting to get that close to her.
Right. Y'all don't know me. You don't know what I've been through.
Yeah, and she's not by any means angry about that. She's very kind towards others, but there is a wall that she has up where she's not going to share too much about herself. She keeps it pretty private, and then the people around her slowly break that down, and I think she starts realizing that they've got stuff as well too, and then that allows her to share some of that too.
Oh yeah.
We are all damaged, so the only way to
We just don't
heal
tattoo it on our
is
foreheads.
just- we don't, and don't do that. That was a stupid move. But we can, we're only gonna like heal by sharing and helping each other through those things.
Yes. All of our lives, our backstories, all come to impact us inevitably in positive and negative ways. But there are people that have similar experiences to you and that have gone through a lot. And it's easy to judge people on a surface level. Super easy to do it in Dungeons & Dragons because you think of J.R.R. Tolkien, you think of orcs as bad guys, you think of hobgoblins as bad guys, rat folk from Warhammer could be pretty, schemy, slimy creatures, but in this, all these people have really real experiences, and they're all wanting to build something together and a life together.
Yeah.
Which I think is extra special.
They're good people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in Guardians, it's like, hey, we can be losers together, but we're a family. Family. And we're gonna go out there and kick some ass.
Yes.
And there's something so nice about that. We are Groot. I'm just thinking of Guardians of the Galaxy now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it will do it for our Legends and Lattes semi-review.
Yeah. Semi-review.
More of pique your curiosity because bookshops, and bone dust
Bookshops and bone dust.
is our next on our list. If you want us to review it in a similar manner, let us know down in the comments. That would be really nice of you on this super sweet Valentine's Day. And remember, love not just shared between your partner, but also your friends and family. Keep that love going around.
Yeah, and families, whoever you make it to be.
Yes. So make sure that people know that you love them.
Yes.
All right. Well, this is Merlin's Vault.
Yeah.
We will see you next time. Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye.